No Warriors games for a week, which means we can just generally podcast, catch our breath, talk bigger picture here. Guys, remember, presented by Prize Picks. Get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 and use the promo code WELCOME. Welcome to Light Years. Got a fun one today. Got our guy, JD John Dickinson, joining us momentarily. But before we start, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the playback news. So most of you who listen to the show know my full-time job was working at Playback. And this week, we are going to have to shut down Playback, at least for the short term, if not the long term, going through a sales process to see what happens. But it's the end of an era with that platform I gave 4 years to try to build up and scale up because it's truly an idea I believed in. Really proud of what my team did to get us to that standpoint. Really proud of all the things we accomplished. And ultimately, rights is an incredibly complicated space. The sports right ecosystem is an incredibly tough space. And like all startups, we eventually hit a roadblock. And so now it's time to shift courses on that front. I want to thank everyone, every listener who's reached out to me privately to ask if this affects me, how I'm doing with this. It means the world to me to have this community, to be able to not just talk Warrior stuff, but also just be able to talk general sports and life with people with. So I want to thank everyone on that front. And yeah, we'll see what's next. But I can tell you right now, what's that meme? I'm not leaving. This ain't gonna affect Light Years, guys. This is not gonna affect Light Years. We will be live after every game. It will be streamed on YouTube like it always is. And stay tuned for notes about how you can call in. We're still going to be taking live callers. I want you guys calling in all the time. We may have to use a different platform to do that in the interim. So yeah, just wanted to get that off, let everyone know that. And with all that said, let's get to our guest, Mr. John Dickinson. All right, JD. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. Always a lot of fun to talk to you and to talk to Andy.
Yeah, for sure. Are you did you go on the last road trip, by the way?
No, I was not. We're picking up a little bit after the new year, but once football gets in full swing, we kind of break the trips down a little bit toward later in the year after football.
Niner season. Surprisingly good. Niner. You know what? We can save the Niner talk for when Andy hops on a few.
You want to talk about the Raiders? We can talk about the Raiders.
Let's get to it. Geno Smith. Is he the future? No. The NBA schedule is kind of weird now because this feels like now it feels like there's 2 All-Star breaks. Like there's the All-Star break, they get a week off. Now we have this one after 25 games. It's almost like we got 3 seasons, you know? There's the first part, which has been kind of rough for the Warriors. There's this kind of what it's always been the dog days from like Christmas through January and what's about to be trade deadline season, and then the sprint at the end. But let's just start there. Through 25 games, what is your impression of these Warriors?
I think it's disappointing, the overall record, even with the wins in Cleveland and Chicago, to get to 13-12. And I will often use the term after a win when I'm doing a show, and I'll say, well, it's better than the alternative, right? And I think 13-12 is better than the alternative in terms of what it looked like it was going to be, obviously, given the way things have gone here for the last few weeks before they were able to get the wins in Cleveland and Chicago. But I think disappointing. I think the Warriors would tell you that they believe that they built a better roster to withstand the early season schedule, which they knew was a gauntlet, and to withstand some of the veterans that they have in certain areas and the young players that they have in other areas. I think they thought they had that balance of just skill set types, old versus young, guys who complement each other, to where they could give certain veterans the night off here and have others take up the slack. And the reality is they haven't built the roster to a point where they could withstand it and have a quality enough record. So I think that's disappointing. They get off to the great start, and then immediately, I mean, a week and a half into the season, they just hit a wall. And the wall was, I think, the veterans realizing, in Milwaukee and in Indiana, like, we got to work this hard to beat these teams. And then Steph is sick. And then it all leads to the first of the two times where it looked like they were at a pretty significant crisis point. The first going into the 2-game set with San Antonio, and Steph kind of saves them there. And then that lasts for about a week and a half. And then they hit another wall. And, overall, though, I think the reason they've hit the wall is because they just, the vets have not consistently been able to carry it, but the vets shouldn't have had to have been able, to have to work as hard to carry it. Nothing from the middle of the roster, really. And then the back end of the roster, we've seen those guys step up and be able to fill some roles, which remarkably has accounted for more in some ways than that midpoint of the roster. But I if I had to pinpoint it and kind of let you guys jump in here, it's really, to me, more like the 4 through 7 or 8 spots on the roster have been either undefinable or just flat out disappointing among those that the Warriors projected to be able to absorb a lot of that slack to where they want to rest the veterans and then use their depth from 8 to 15 or 16.
Well, we got Pat Spencer now, and we got another 25 games till the trade deadline. So clearly going to go 24-1 from here, right? First 25, 13-12, next 25, 24-1 with Pat Spencer, right?
As long as it doesn't put them in a position where they have to do it in the final 26. As long as they can get some wins before they get to the final 26 to where they don't have to do that to, get the 7 or the 8 seed, then I think it all should wind up working out for them. But yeah, no, I heard you guys, and others have said it. I didn't really think of it in these terms, but I think you're right. And Pat did save the season for now. I mean,
it was getting dark. It was getting really bleak. And he brought a little, like, some positivity, and more than anything, what they needed, some wins.
Yeah, I was going to say they should be. I mean, we all thought they were going to be. I mean, JD, you do post games every game. 11-14 was there. They were going to be 11-14, which would put them as, I mean, they would have been right next to the Dallas Mavericks. Standings watch. We're not doing standings watch yet, but like right there with the Mavericks, just a couple games away from that team. So now the Warriors are back in whatever 8 seed, 7 seed, whatever. But like, that genuinely did save the season and the vibes. Like, people are happy. Like, the team looks happy.
No, there's no doubt. And you could say the good start. They got off to a good start the first week and a half, and then Steph rather saved the middle part there when they were 6-6. Seth hasn't really saved anything yet, although he did look good in the one game against OKC. And then Pat, along with Guy Santos and Quentin Post and GP2, they basically, and Buddy Hield saved the season with a couple of those wins. But yeah, I was joking with Sam before you hopped in, Andy, about the whole. I like to say on a post-game show, it's better than the alternative, right? You don't rate wins, but when you're just at a miss of like any kind of reason, like it was an ugly win, it was a bad win, whatever, but it's better than the alternative. And the alternative of I can't even imagine where things would be at 11-14 right now. So, but yeah, give everybody credit. Give Pat credit. He's brought a dynamic to this team, as you guys know, that they've lacked. The ability for somebody to just attack and create and get his own and kick the ball out and just somebody that can dribble without turning it over consistently. He's
so simple. Seems so simple. What you're saying seems so simple.
And De'Anthony Melton can do that as well, by the way. And right. De'Anthony Melton has come back and helped in his own right. So there is a little more light at the end of the tunnel now. And the big thing that I've tried to parse through, in addition to just giving Pat his flowers, is, and this is always the thing that I think the Warriors do struggle with, it's almost as if they need like 3 different teams to get through a season in a sense. And I know, Sam, you were talking about different points in the schedule and the like, but the Warriors have their Steph team, and now they've like figured out their Steph's out team with Pat. Like, okay, but how do you take the best of the Steph's out team and figure out how that can help the with Steph team, or figure out the two different ways to go about it and have it blend? So that's been kind of a focus of, a couple of the shows that I've done. Give everybody their credit, huge wins, flowers to those who have helped them win, but how does it sort of translate to, hey, they're going to get everybody back presumably on Friday when they play Minnesota and then go to Portland. And how is that going to look? And how do they maximize the guys like Pat and now guys like DeAnthony Melton, which should be an easy call, and Guy Santos and others?
I was gonna say, if you're throwing Guy Santos into that mix, like which is the craziest part of this whole thing is Guy Santos is. It feels like the last couple seasons they throw him in, he plays some great minutes, and it's like almost like, let's be real, guys. Like, is Guy Santos really a rotation player in any of the teams in the NBA that are actually trying to win games? And yet, for the Warriors, like, what he does is something that they're missing so badly. He can stick a three. He really hustles. Tries to crash offensive rebounds. He just goes 150% out there, and that's enough. That's enough for them to beat the Cavs and the Bulls.
Well, and he's 6'7", an
Oh,
energy
yeah,
player
that's
who's
right.
over 6'2",
6'7",
which is
which means he can play the four. Which means he can play the four for
maybe five.
Maybe the five, from time to time. But no, to answer your question, Andy, no. I mean, not for 82 games. He's not. I mean,
Right.
he's not. And I think when you look to project out, and I'm sure we'll get into trade deadline and all that, it's still so damn far away. I mean, we're a little under 2 months basically until the trade deadline. But as you start to pencil some semblance of a rotation now, given everything we know with Melton back, and how does that impact Brandon Pajemski's minutes? How do you use Pat Spencer? I think when you add in all of that and you look at Quentin Post and Draymond coming back, I think really that backup four is probably, or a 3-4 at a minimum. I think that's an area where, we know it's not 82. Wing. It's not 82 games for Guy Santos. And we also know who else that isn't going to be, because he isn't going to be on the roster, presumably after after February 5th.
So let's end this segment with this question. They got 16 games till January 15th. They cannot make a trade before the 15th. I mean, they technically can, but they can't make a meaningful one. I don't think they're making a trade on December 12th, like Buddy Hield and a pick for something. We need to get to the 15th. Hopefully they have something lined up by then. What is their record through the next 16 games? Because they're getting a nice breather here. The schedule does get easier, although I will note the easy part of the schedule really comes mid-January. It's not super easy the next month, but either way, I think the better they play over these 16 games, the more aggressive they're going to be in movement. Do you guys agree with that?
I do. I mean, I think they have to show, they have to show a level that we haven't seen from them maybe since the first 5 games of the season. And I think they're going to have to show that there are, I think, a specific piece or two away in terms of just a rotation player for them to want to go out and do what it takes to add that guy.
Is that really what it's going to have to be, though? Is it going to have to be like Guy Santos and Pat Spencer? Guys we know, Pat's a great story and Guy's a likable dude, but they're not serious playoff rotation guys, right? Is it going to just have to be those guys playing, above water, showing that, hey, if you get guys who fit our system, we're going to win games with G Leaguers, basically. If you upgrade a Guy Santos, if you upgrade a Pat Spencer, although Pat Spencer might be the best player in the league, if you upgrade one of those, then we're really cooking. Then we're a 50-plus win team, and the Thunder are daunting, but we're as good as anyone else.
I think that's where they have to hope that they can get to. I think they have to hope that there is a move out there to put them on that level. I mean, there may not be a move out there that puts them on that level, frankly, when you look at what they would have available to trade at this point. And look, I think they would probably prefer to keep Brandon Podziemski, at the price point that Brandon Podziemski is currently on, as opposed to moving him. We all know this deal with Kuminga, but do you have to attach assets to Kuminga now to move him more than maybe you would have thought you would have needed to there? But I think the other thing you have to pencil is just looking at the rotation first and foremost. Is DeAnthony Melton going to be your starting two guard? Because in a perfect world, he would be. But can he play enough minutes and back-to-backs and all those things because he's coming off this knee injury to do that? So
realistic.
Exactly, Andy. So it's not.
But then you got Will Richard. Can you piecemeal the two of them together as Melton's knee gets better, so that when it's playoff time, it's 35 minutes of Melton? So I think we're all in agreement on that one. Like the idea of Melton's giving you 30 plus minutes right now, like you're just asking for him to get re-injured. The goal is to get him there in April.
Totally. But it's also the goal is to be good enough between now and then, which is something that the Warriors have just not been able to do.
I will say, and I know we got to get to a read here. Sam, you had the schedule up. I was looking at it the other day. It is a clean schedule. I know, JD, you go through this. It is a clean looking schedule until end of January. And so they've got a way. We go back to the 23-8 run. My guess is that your favorite player is going to be out of the rotation here moving forward. I doubt he gets back in unless there's a lot of injuries coming up, which could happen. But I do think like we're going to see something that mirrors that stretch where they are going to play really hard. They damn near got a week off right now, and Steph's going to be back, and the fit makes sense for all the players. And like look at it: Minnesota, Portland, Phoenix, Orlando, Dallas. Like these teams are injured or just kind of whatever, right? You go down the list. Brooklyn,
Portland, who's beat their ass twice, by the way,
right?
Right, and they owe them one, right? Portland's not a great team. Like the only one on the schedule until the end. Like even LA, the Clippers, and Milwaukee. Like Milwaukee's not good right now. Giannis might be gone by then. Who knows? And you look at it, and then they got a big home stretch. Really, the whole January they got a big home stretch. The only team that they're probably going to lose to for sure is OKC on January 2nd. So whatever, pick that one. That's it. But other than that, guys, like it should be another big stretch of winning games for them if they go down the list of like good vibes that they have right now, which it feels like they are.
Andy,
I agree with you. They should.
They got to want it, Sam. That's the number one thing. They got to want it, and it has to start with Steph and Jimmy and Draymond setting the tone that this is a goal, and then everything else kind of fall in line from there.
Right.
It does really need to be, that 15 game stretch where they win 2 out of 3. They need one of those little like bursts in the schedule where, they get 8 out of 9. They do something that gives them some separation. To me, the number is get 11 out of 16. That's 2 out of every 3. That's less impressive than 23-8. But when you look at the schedule and how home heavy it is, man. They should be able to. They should be 24 and what? 18 at that point. Like that. 24 and 17, something in that range, pushing 50 win pace, more like 48 win pace. But, actually actively in the hunt for being out of the play-in as opposed to what they were last year, which was below 500 until Valentine's Day. That's what they were. That's what they were. They did not get above 500 until after Valentine's Day. Like that's how bad it was. So,
and then Joe's gonna say, "Well, hey, look, record's pretty good. We don't want to ruin the momentum. No need for trades, right, guys? No need for. You don't want to ruin
just pay the bill."
Here's podcast. We're about, you guys know what it is. We're brought to you guys by Prize Picks. Make your Prize Picks best way to win real money this summer, this winter, really now. And it's walking around. It's 45 degrees outside. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports takes into real money all season long on Prize Picks. We got the NBA Cup. Sam, that's your specialty, man. That's the NBA Cup. There's nothing more important in the sporting world right now than the NBA Cup. They've cleared out the schedule. They've cleared out the schedule so that you guys can go on Prize Picks and throw some rosters and lineups out and build some lineups based on the NBA Cup. One thing to note, Prize Picks now has early payouts. So if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before a game even finishes. Heat Orlando tonight, whatever it is, whenever you're listening to this. If you've got Desmond Bane and you've got Andrew Wiggins, old friend, and some of those numbers you pick more or less and it makes sense, you can cash out before the game even ends and go use your winnings on the other game, on the next game. So app's really easy to use. All you got to do, create a lineup, pick more, pick less on player stats. So download the app today. Use code LightYears, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LightYears to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
It is good to be right. Guys, you know what I'm here to tell you about. What is the most important thing in determining your mood? It's feeling good in what you're wearing. And what is the one item of clothing that determines what you are wearing more than anything? It's your underwear. Nothing's worse than when you got, a pair that's too tight or too loose. You feel no comfort. You're in a bad mood all day. You're not performing your best. Nobody's happy. And that's where Skims comes in. By far the most comfortable pair of boxer briefs I've ever had. The 5-inch briefs, the perfect blend of structure and comfort. I can't speak highly enough to it. I recommend you guys, if you're looking for new underwear, if you're sitting there with that ratty pair you don't want to throw out that you keep pulling out even though it's got holes in it, it's time, guys. Get some Skims. Guys, shop Skims Men's at skims.com. And if you're looking for the perfect gift for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever. Also available at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place the order, select podcast in the survey, select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Alrighty. Well, so they need to survive until the June 15th. My favorite part about this time of NBA season is the rumors are starting to get pretty aggressive right now, John. Do you feel like they're a little more aggressive than usual with the Warriors right now?
Not necessarily. It doesn't. Although I think everybody knows what time it is now as it relates to the Kuminga situation. I mean, it is over. Like it is, and I think everybody knows that it's over.
Well, that's kind of what I'm talking about. It's like I feel like in past years they pulled that like, wait and see. We are not desperate to trade anyone. We like our team, like that type of BS. And now it's just Shams going, January 15th, everyone wants to get a move done. Let's get it done, Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but they set this up in the and I know maybe Joe Lacob had a different opinion. Maybe he didn't, but I mean, this thing was set up with how contentious the contract was, the negotiations and everything. I mean, I'm not always comfortable using this term, but the reality is, and others have said it, I mean, Kuminga really has become a human trade exception. Like that's really what it boils down to. Like it's just, and I think the Warriors, there was hope that they could have him be a productive player for them while they looked for, moves to be made to, after January 15th to include him in some kind of a trade. To me, it was more about his value. Like the better he played with the Warriors in whatever role would only help his value. And that would enhance, in theory, the player that they could get back for him. I never bought into this. He was going to, come back and it was going to be so great that they were going to ultimately look to keep him and tear the deal up and redo it and all these kinds of things.
We got 5 games of it. We got 5 games of it where I was like, it might work. But then reality hit, John. The minute they hit adversity, all those hard feelings on both sides, like, Kuminga clearly doesn't want to be here. Steve Kerr clearly doesn't want him here. Nobody wants this situation except for Joe. It's like the I consent. Is there someone you forgot to ask meme? Where Joe's just holding up something that everyone would have liked to have got done 2 years ago, But here we are. I'm kind of with you. It has to happen. I'm going to go as far as to say if he's on this team after the trade deadline, they won't make the playoffs. That's my prediction. I think it has a chance to get so toxic. We're talking about how can they cobble it together to get to January 15th. And I do think it can be just like vets deciding to play hard for 10 to 12 games and them playing like the Guy Santoses of the world. And just like, getting through it, getting an 8-4 stretch or stuff like that. But it's all with the idea of like the talent upgrade is coming. The situation is ending. We're going to, Jonathan, you're free. You're free to go, get into your mid-range bag somewhere else. I don't see how they don't do that. They've done dumb things in the past, but I really don't see how they can look at what's going on right now and think it's going to be cool if he's here after the trade deadline with Steve Kerr DMPing him. I
think they know internally that it would be a problem if he's around beyond the trade deadline. I think you can see it based on the way, there's basically been 2 times and this, by the way, is not an indictment of anything he's doing or saying in the locker room, because by all accounts that part of it has not been an issue. It's just the cloak of he's still on the team and everybody's going to continue to ask about his role. I mean, I thought Steve, the most telling, Steve Kerr from the other night was him saying, hey, this happens to everybody that's not a star. He basically was like,
such a shot. That was a clear shot.
It's like, you think you're a star, you're not a star, deal with it. Like your D Santos or like your Will Richard or like your Pods, for example, like deal with it. Like you're not a star. And on this team, you're especially not going to be given that leeway. Again, we don't need to relitigate that. We all know where things stand.
Oh, but we do
as it relates to that. But to that point, I think everybody's ready for it to, I think Steve's ready for the question, not to have to deal with the question anymore, because anytime, Kuminga may be out of the rotation for now, but one injury away, one bad 5-minute Guy Santos stretch in a game against somebody, and he's going to give him another chance to play. I mean, it's not like, Steve does this all the time. He'll take a guy out of the rotation and then he'll throw somebody back in. Now, it's not going to be 35 minutes a game, but Kuminga's going to get a 5 or a 6 minute run at some point. Probably in a situation like where the Warriors were in Philly, where the guys that he has been playing in the planned rotation are stinking up the joint and they're down by 20. Sure. And he'll throw Kuminga a bone and say, hey, go out there and do what you do.
The problem with that, and we've seen it, is that Kuminga will come in and he just, like, I remember Slater wrote a whole piece saying like, well, he just wasn't ready. And it's like, you got to make sure he's prepared and make sure he's ready. It's like, it's and again, Steve knows this, and it's like, it's just, he's not the type of guy where he's ready. And again, I
don't even think it's.
He's not. It is that. Absolutely. That's that's not the biggest problem. That's far from it. Let's be clear. But like, that's the type of shit where it's like, all right, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Sorry. What I was going to add to it, I'm sorry, Andy, was that like, it's just, this thing is just so toxic. Like, I feel like Steve is purposely taking shots at him at this point, and he's doing it just to get under his skin, just to show who's boss. And this is all like kind of a situation that, and I don't think anyone looks particularly good from it, but like the big L is Joe and management for creating this situation. I wanted to ask you this. We got a new rumor on this front. Let's talk basketball fits a little bit.
Sure.
We've done this enough. Old friend Myles Turner, his name has come up here. You're saying they need more of a wing. They need basically Andrew Wiggins or the player that they were hoping Kuminga could become. Myles is not that, but how would you feel about a Myles Turner trade for Kuminga, knowing that they probably got to throw Pods in there or they got to throw in picks? I can't see a world in which Milwaukee does a straight swap. Just because they got him on 4 years under contract. He's a winning player. There'll be a team who's going to incentivize you more so.
Yeah, I would say no chance they would do a straight swap. Although I could see where in Milwaukee tearing everything down, they would want to definitely get off of that future money for Myles Turner. But I think that would be a godsend if the Warriors could get Myles Turner for Kuminga at this point. And you wouldn't feel comfortable moving Pods. I think they would prefer to keep Pods, although if Pat Spencer can be a 16-minute-a-game player for you and DeAnthony Melton can be, a part of the rotation, like I do think having those two guys, if they are going to be, and Melton will be, Pods, we don't know, but I think, you're a little bit more able
it
to
makes
maybe
pods
look at moving
vulnerable.
pods. You can move pods a little bit more if Spencer's basically your backup point guard now, and DeAnthony Melton's going to play some combo guard minutes, or can play some combo guard minutes, even if he predominantly is more of a 2-3. But I think Myles Turner would be a great get. Now the Warriors have been reluctant to want to take on money beyond 2 years, which they would.
Oh, that's right, because they're getting Jokic and Giannis.
Yeah, obviously Giannis, they wouldn't be getting Giannis at this point if they're looking to make the Myles Turner move. But I would do that in a heartbeat if you could get that. I'm reluctant to think that they can get that. The one thing that I'm interested in, Sam, you've already probably been here on the Kuminga value front, but I think the one thing about Kuminga becoming a DNP coach's decision is any semblance of what you thought his value was, Kuminga's, immediately goes down, like across the league. Immediately, like you're going to have teams that are going to want maybe Kuminga, but they're going to offer you less. You're going to have to take another bad contract back with it. Like I'll use the Mark Spears report, and this was kind of a silly thing because I don't think the Warriors are interested in Monk at all at this point. But it was the notion of, and I don't know if you guys saw this, Spears put out there, hey, the Kings are still interested in Jonathan Kuminga, where they would have done Monk and given you a first-round pick, protected first-round pick. Now they would just do Monk for Kuminga, and you'll take and no pick. And so it like that kind of thinking. Forget about the Kings part of it, but or even the Monk part of it. But that type of thinking for opposing front offices now. Whatever our offer would have been in the summer, that offer's going down because he's a less valuable player now on a worse contract, honestly, because he's not as good of a player making more money. I mean, it's just the way it works.
Come on, man. That's depressing.
That's just the way it works, though, right?
You can't get outcooked by Vivek and the fucking Kings. Well, man. That's crazy. Yeah, go ahead, Santa.
I was gonna say this makes me miss Bob Myers, and it makes me wonder what the hell Mike is doing, because he has one job here, which is to get maximum value for Kuminga, and his coach does not give a shit. You know, like Steve's just like, trade him for peanuts. I don't care.
Hey, you sound like Steve, kind of like me, to be honest. Yeah, it's not.
Well, it's
helpful.
You could say that all you want. It's not helpful though. So
no, it is not. No, it is not.
But I'm saying it's Mike's job to make that not the case. It's Mike's job to have everyone playing nicely until the trade deadline, so he has some leverage here. I don't know, like. Should this be seen as like a black mark on Mike? Like they have levels of dysfunction here. And it's not just Mike. It's like Lacob, whoever you want to put it. But it's like they just aren't operating with the same kind of light years approach that they did when Bob was running the show. For all the bad picks and the grief, Bob understood people.
I think it's hard. Look, I don't care for Mike Dunleavy. I can't say I like him or dislike him. But I can't really blame him, though, in this case, because it's like he's not like Bob was Steve's guy, so it's like kind of different. And Bob's got the relationship with the players. Like Mike feels like kind of like a like he's not a figurehead. It's kind of messed up, I guess, to say that, but he is kind of like, I feel like he knows basketball and he knows his stuff. Feels like he could draft, like kind of good at drafting. Imagine if he had the 2nd and 7th pick, felt like he would have made a good selection with those. But this is big time stuff. Like this is way bigger. Like dealing with this is harder than saying, I'm gonna go figure out
different skill set.
Yeah, different. Sorry, that's actually what I mean. Different skill set, because it is hard. Because you could end up drafting Wiseman at number 2, and I don't know if Mike Dunleavy would have done that. But yeah, man, this is a different one where it's like, does he have the credibility though to come at Steve? And I don't know, maybe he should. I don't know. Maybe that's where Steph needs to come in. That's what I always say. Steph, save us for everything. Steph, please.
I don't even think it's like. Please. I don't even think it's coming at Steve and like doing the whole like I call the shots here, like my dick's bigger than yours thing, because like that's not going to work. It's the like guiding the relationship thing. Like that was always what Bob Myers was good at, where he just kind of like.
I think Mike might not be
conflict resolution, I guess is what you would say, right?
I think Mike's that's not you hear about Mike, and I got JD chime in here. I know we gotta get into the read, but like I don't think that's Mike's. That's not his forte. He's not. Well, like Bob was a good dude.
I think Mike and Steve are actually aligned on the Kuminga thing, and
ooh, I like it.
And so I think there's a part of Mike Dunleavy that believes, hey, we could trade him for a random veteran wing and we'd be better off for it because he'd be gone. This guy can be in the rotation. Now, look, the one thing the Warriors cannot do as they head toward Jan 15 and then February 5th, 3 weeks later, because that's the other tricky part of this. And they can do the legwork in the next month, but they truly will have a 3-week window. Like January 15th is 3 weeks from February 5th to get this thing done. But the one thing they can't do, they can't let their desire to get a certain level of value for Kuminga prevent them from ultimately moving Kuminga. Like that, like it's some because and I think this is where Steve, the last game in Chicago is a perfect example of this, or the way this weekend has played out, this past weekend. Like when the Warriors have been at their best in the Jimmy Butler era, and I think I say this every time I'm on with you guys, Kuminga's not part of it. Like he's not.
Yeah.
The first 5 games of the year, fine, but look at the 2 times this year they were in crisis mode. What was the one of the big moves both times? Less Kuminga. Right. And it just seems like, again, this is not to make it about him being a bad guy, because he's not a bad guy, but the whole situation has infected, I think, the camaraderie of the team and the vibes in the locker room to a point where I do think if you put the truth serum in Steve and you put the truth serum in Mike Dunleavy, they would say, hey, look, we can, yes, we have to get value because it's my job to get value if you're Mike, but we can trade him for a random dude. And if that random dude can be in the top 8, we're going to be better for it. And now we're done with it. But obviously, given the way it's all played out, they want to get more. They want to make sure they get more and win the deal.
I think what you're saying is, I'm just going to end it on this point. It's 2 a.m. It's last call. Don't be scrolling Instagram. Your options are your options.
Don't be scrolling Instagram.
And they've got plenty of time.
You know what? You might not love your options, but those are your options. So you just get it done.
Anyway, just get it done. Okay. All right. We got to get to the exciting whites here. But before we do that, Layers podcast, we are brought to you by GLD. Buying men's jewelry used to be a nightmare, especially around the holidays. Got Christmas coming up right now. It was either cheap stuff that broke after a week or crazy overpriced with ridiculous markups. That's why I rock with GLD. They've changed the game. You get quality jewelry that's built to last without blowing your entire holiday budget on just one item. And unlike a lot of other companies, GLD only uses real gold, none of the cheap stuff. Every single stone meticulously hand set. Plus, the proprietary production process makes sure you're getting the highest quality jewelry possible. You got guys like Justin Bieber, Micah Parsons, Tyreek Hill, Malik Neighbors, A$AP Rocky, ton of these guys that uses GLD. So, and the best part, every single piece guaranteed for life. This holiday, you have the chance to give more than just jewelry. Work hard and change the game. GLD's holiday deal is unbeatable. So for a limited time only, new customers get 50% off at GLD.com when you use our code LightYears. That's 50% off with code LightYears at GLD.com. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Support our show. Tell them we sent you. GLD. Wow, 50% off.
50% off is a good deal, man. 50% is a good deal. I got one right here. Are you buying the Pat Spencer story, JD?
I'm buying him in terms of he saved the season in Cleveland and Chicago.
Are you buying that he can be the backup point guard for the rest of the season?
Ooh, I think he can be. I would struggle with the notion in the playoffs, but Kirk kind of threw him out there in the playoffs last year a little bit, and he didn't
remember that.
And at times he didn't look bad, and then at times I thought he looked a little overwhelmed. I mean, his shot making's been better in the time that he's played this year, which I think has made a big difference. I think, that's the biggest, key to this thing. But I think, if Steph's playing, what are we talking about? I think we're talking about 16 minutes a game. I think he's probably going to play the last 3 minutes of the first quarter and third quarter, and probably the first 5 minutes of the second and fourth quarter. Maybe it's a little less than that in the fourth quarter if you want to bring Steph back. Yeah. I am buying that because I think he's going to probably play with Jimmy. I think Steve's going to play him and Jimmy together at the start of the second and the fourth. And he's just a real nice complementary piece and skill set to the other things that they have on the roster, because they have so few players that that can do what he does. So I would buy it for the rest of the regular season, but I don't know about the playoffs.
Yeah,
But
they
then,
need that though. They need that. I don't even worry about the playoffs right now. I don't even care.
Yeah.
Just they need to get through the regular.
Then maybe you go
Get
to
to the
Melton and
get to
not
the
roll more
5
in the
seed.
playoffs.
We'll worry about the playoff.
Get to the
rotation
5 seed.
later.
Get to the 5 so that Steph doesn't pull a hammy because you had to go 7 against Amen Thompson and you're just gutting it out in Houston, getting beat up and broken, and all of a sudden, like, listen, even if Steph didn't get hurt in game 1, like, they wouldn't have made it through Minnesota, and by the time they got to OKC, they would have been destroyed. Just how tired and injured that they would have been because they had to play the down the stretch. And so, yeah, I'm with you. 16 minutes a game, backup point guard.
The real question for me is, and this is another reason, by the way, I think they need a trade. They're again in they need a consolidation trade mode. Like, they have too many guys who are about the same level. And when it's working, it's great. They play 12, but then you run into the issues where it's like, would rather have 7 or 8 I could count on than 12 or 13 that I can't. All right. Pat Spencer's giving you 15 minutes off the bench. Melton, what would we say, 20 minutes a game right now? Probably in the 20-minute range, at least through the All-Star game. I don't know that they're going to extend him beyond that until post-All-Star. Where does that leave the Pods, Will Richard, Moses Moody? Because now you're talking about 28 minutes at the backup 2 and 15 or 16 minutes behind Jimmy. That's what? 44 minutes for 3 guys. Like, is Pods going to start getting his minutes cut? Is Buddy going to be out of the rotation? Is Will Richard going to be out of the rotation? It's hard to bench Will Richard because he's been better at the 3 and D role than most of these guys all year. Who did I forget in that mix?
I think GP2 is going to be out.
GP2, yeah, Seth. Yeah.
GP2 is probably going to be, use as needed, right? He wasn't playing until they ran into some injuries, but I think Pods is going to see his minutes go down a little bit, but Pods is still like, you play Pods with Pat, all of a sudden Pods
Dude,
is not,
it really works.
He
was really good.
I mean, you'd think they'd get destroyed defensively. Maybe they do as time goes on, but Pods not being the lead ball handler, I think was really, really important.
That has been kind of the big discovery for me. This is the second year they've tried him as the point guard in the second unit. It didn't work. He's clearly a 2 guard, and now they need to determine how much that matters to them. Because I do think it lowers his value. Like, if you're talking about him as like a piece for the future, part of it was his playmaking chops, and he can make a play, but in like a secondary fashion, not as a leader.
Yep.
So I just wonder if like they would be smart to shop him at the deadline while he's still in year 3, while the value is still pretty high. And I wonder if they've learned their mistakes from like the Kumingas of the world.
Time will tell, because and I know we don't have time for it now, but I mean, they are also going to face a decision on Podziemski's contract, which I think has to factor into whether or not they look to be more active in moving him now, if they believe that the roster composition, they have enough to cover for not having him on the roster. Because I'm not sure they have enough to cover him not being on the roster completely at the deadline, especially if he goes in a deal for a wing. But I also think they kind of need him as a security blanket for, what if Melton goes down? Then he's just got to play more. What if, if you don't have Steph, you obviously need to play him more in the interim along with Pat. So do they have enough protections against some of the injuries and age and things that can pop up between now and April, which we're still 4 months away from the end of the regular season?
We're gonna keep going. We got a lot.
Yeah.
Long way. A lot of guards. Long way to go. A lot of guards. So they got a lot of protection for those guys.
JD, appreciate you joining us on this abridged one. Hopefully next time you're on, we're talking about a team who's like 20 and 13. We'll see though.
11-5 in the next 16. That's the magic number. Get a little separation to 500. But thank you guys for having me. Always a pleasure. Hopefully we'll do it again soon.
All right, man.